So sometimes when Symposium comes around, you're just in the middle of stuff. And it could be good stuff or stuff that's not quite there, but that's kind of where we are with water quality work this year. So today I want to update you on a few ongoing water quality projects and use these examples to also illustrate how data we have and continue to collect helps us collect, we have and continue to collect, and strategy help us to support our local governments by linking permits and policy to engineering, science, and practice. So nerd alert, I love this drawing, always have, and it reminds me of Hogwarts. So when thinking about this title, I did look up what stepping it up typically is considered to mean. My memory of this phrase was related to my father and childhood athletics, so we won't go there. And my dad's amazing, don't get me wrong, and I found this explanation and I felt it was really appropriate with where we are at and where we're going with water quality at MHFD. And that energy, enthusiasm, and skill need to be pointed in the right direction to be going towards the most impactful outcomes so that we aren't running full speed up the wrong stairs. And that's where data and strategy come in. Listening to our local governments, we hear that they're interested in projects and research that are strategic and that support rooting permit requirements in data. Because good data should be a foundational element of all the work we do, right? So some themes we've observed recently: understanding what additional work will fill needs and gaps, conducting research that supports requirements and MS4 permit updates, criteria and guidance that support taking a step up as an industry, research and data gathering that help permittees get credit for the good work they're already doing, and always learning together as a professional community. So yes, we have a whole service line at MHFD dedicated to supporting our local governments with water quality, the MS4 permit, and beyond. And we conduct research, build partnerships, and provide tools to improve water quality in our receiving streams through research and innovation, permits and policy, and tools and resources. So I'm going to walk through some current work and also illustrate these data and strategy concepts through 4 examples. Starting with our 21st and Iris bioretention site in Lakewood, which has been monitored for the last 14 or so years. We're trying to advance the practice here through understanding the data we're collecting and incorporating in our criteria. We've learned that compost amendments may export nutrients over the long term, that significant reductions in many pollutants are seen when we filter stormwater through bioretention media, that upturn elbow in the underdrain impacts performance, and we're also looking at the survivability of vegetation and how maintenance impacts these facilities. And we're excited to do a deep dive on this analysis and document what we've learned. So just a little bit of a teaser for Symposium next year, potentially. The next step we are calling the dissection. You can see in this picture things have changed. It's fairly different out at the site. Almost everything in the facility has evolved over time from vegetation, which wasn't really intentional, to the underdrain configuration, which was. And for this dissection, we're doing some core sampling to understand the soil gradation and nutrient concentrations at varying depths, and to understand how this media has fared over the last 14 years. We're also doing a survey of plants that have survived and what plants are currently in the facility. And finally, we're planning to redesign the facility in advance of the 2026 monitoring season, and some snazzy upgrades in telemetry, design considerations for flow measurements, our new media, and different plannings are all in the plan. So we're really excited about this site and what we have going on here, and more to come. Let's switch over to the regional street sweeping study. It's always funny how a project will have you hanging out a car window to get that perfect photo of what's going on. And this has definitely been one of those for me. But this, no fear, this was taken from the sidewalk at Caspum. And so here we want to understand what amount of nutrient removal we get from street sweeping in Colorado. And we want to help our local governments take credit for the street sweeping they're doing related to nutrient TMDLs or nutrient requirements in permits. We've conducted a literature review and a survey of street sweeping practices of local governments in Colorado. I want to give a big shout out to our local government partners on the map and also Rightwater, our consultant. We conducted our first round of sweeper waste sampling last fall, and we're currently in the thick of spring sampling. We anticipate conducting at least one more round of sampling after this. So you can get an idea here of what we're sampling. Last fall, we collected samples from 10 street sweepers representing mechanical, vacuum-assisted, and regenerative air sweeper technologies, urban and residential land uses, and approximately 37 to 43 cubic yards of sweeper waste. And just today, if you stop by our R&D table, you yourself can poke around at some of the samples we've collected and figure out which is spring and which is fall. And yeah, it's just fun to kind of see up close what these machines are picking up. And so we're really trying to understand in this study what nutrients are available to be transported easily through suspension in stormwater, how much of those are transported during a normal storm, and then what is the concentration of phosphorus in those sediments. Finally, realistically, how much of those sediments does a street say that 5 times fast, street sweeper pick up? And our ultimate goal is putting together a calculator. And this is an example from Minnesota, but we're going to have a Colorado-specific version that allows for easy measurement of sweeper waste by volume or curb miles swept and calculates that amount of phosphorus removed. So Drew's definitely got me beat on graphs because this is the only one I have, and I felt like as an engineer I needed at least one. This is just an example of the data collected that we're collecting and processing. This summary graph shows the concentration of total phosphorus and sweeper waste particles of varying sizes across all of the cities and sweeper types that we are studying. You can see that there's a pattern of increased concentration. It says sediment size gets smaller, starting with the middle of the graph. And yeah, this is the actual amount of total phosphorus collected would need to have this amount of material in the different size bins. We would need to know that. And also, some of the amounts in these different size bins are pretty small. So we're just continuing to process this data and understand what kind of removals we can expect and what we can look forward to. These numbers line up with what we saw in the literature review, and final data sets will be plugged into that Colorado-specific calculator tool for local governments to use. So again, more to come on this. Next, we have the Colorado Stormwater Portal. This is a tool that was created in 2016 when a Colorado statute was enacted around notification for newly constructed detention facilities and their compliance with water rights. Kim McKenzie, former executive director of MHFD, worked with the Colorado Stormwater Council to protect owners of water quality detention facilities from water rights challenges through this mapping and notification tool. Now the portal needs to be updated to a new platform, and so we're thinking about how to collect additional data related to that notification to help MS4s better track and potentially take credit for things like SCM retrofits. So y'all, this is the world premiere of the Stormwater Portal. Brick and our GIS team have been working on the configurations and needed capabilities. We're also working with a stakeholder group from Colorado Stormwater Council to ensure tools meet users' needs and wants. And we are very excited to partner with the State Office of Information Technology, who is likely going to be hosting the portal moving forward, which is incredibly exciting and I think positive for the process overall to facilitate communication between state agencies around the notification list. So this will be a web application in Esri, and we'll have a survey 1, 2, 3 screen that users will populate. An example of this is there on the left. MHFD is designing the portal, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to continue to provide support and information and support OIT as we move forward with this project. The new portal will be completed by the end of 2025 because it has to be. So we have to have a portal, and it's sunsetting at the end of the year. So more to come on this. Wow, finally a statement that engineers and Spanish chute designers can agree on. We're doing an update to the SCM maintenance chapter to help inform MS4 permit requirements for maintenance and to better support maintenance information for Colorado. We've been doing this type of maintenance for a while now, and we really want to capture what we're learning. An example of a concept that we want in the update is guidance around preventative versus restorative maintenance, asking questions like what's routine mean and what's not routine, how do we support conversations around what's needed, and also what might be required in updated MS4 permits, and how do we promote the less expensive and less time-consuming preventative maintenance that's the lower part of the triangle. We hosted a workshop in April to bring together private and public stakeholders around the update. And as usual, when you ask the brain trust, you get a lot of good information and a lot of sticky notes. I want to give a shout out to many folks in the audience that were part of this workshop. I think it was a great experience and will be really helpful. We learned we need to be speaking to the right audience. Engineers are not usually the ones doing maintenance on SCMs, and so how do we provide the information needed for different audiences within the chapter update? We also heard that both instruction and flexibility are needed, so understanding when inspections need to happen, but also providing flexibility and understanding around when maintenance actually needs to occur, because all sites are a little different. And developing the chapter with maintenance plans in mind, because maintenance plans are the communication bridge between around maintenance and function between designers and owners. And finally, we also collected Colorado-specific information about maintenance of the various types of SCM facilities, and that will be extremely helpful to guide the update. So much of stormwater quality work falls under research and development or criteria at MHFD, but we have so many projects in other areas of the district's work to highlight with so many different partners. Some of these are highlighted in presentations today, and I want to encourage you to visit the R&D table at break to chat about any of these efforts that are ongoing. The goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. And so by collecting the right data and using that as insight to be strategic, we can better support our local governments with water quality challenges and support permits incorporating more and more data-driven requirements. And let's make sure we're stepping it up the right stairs. Thank you.